basketball and read what he has to say. For people who can't see at the back, संक्षेप में Jordan साहब ये कह रहे हैं that 9,000 times he's taken shots in his career. He's lost 300 games. 26 times he was supposed to take a shot which will win him the game, and he did not make it. This is Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player on planet Earth. And he missed many, many shots. The number of failures is actually the reason for his success. So here is this guy who we hold in the highest esteem, and look at his failures. And this gentleman says his failures were the reason for his success. And with that background, let me just get right into what I want to talk about. So what is tough? So when I got this presentation, talk of business in tough times, what is tough? And there are three options you have. You can choose any one of them. And they're all live examples. This has all happened. One example is there is this person who went above Earth, outer space, just on the cusp of outer space, and he jumped off a capsule 40 kilometers above space. Do you know about this? Has anyone heard this? Huh? This happened about 4 months ago. This crazy lunatic guy, and obviously very well prepared, goes to the edge of outer space and Earth and jumps off from there. Now, I'm making it sound very simple, but Red Bull and this guy partnered for 5 years to practice, 5 years, and then they made the jump. I think that is tough. That is really tough. And I want to, subsequently I'll show you some stuff around that jump. Second, I'm not sure if you heard about this, but very recently, you've heard of the school Sanawar in Dehradun, I think it's, you're from, yes, Sanawar School. Kids from Sanawar School climb Mount Everest. Okay, kids. These are guys who haven't even passed class 12. There's an amputee who's actually gone to Mount Everest. For me, thinking of going to Mount Everest is tough, and these guys have gone there. And the third example of toughness is this guy who's crossed the Grand Canyon literally 4 days ago. So this guy is crossed the Grand Canyon, and he's got no harness. Forget, there is no harness, there is no net, nothing, and it's a 1,500-meter walk. That is tough. Or selling mutual funds. So the choice is yours. You have three options. या तो आप ऊपर से छलांग मार दें 40 kilometers above space, climb Mount Everest, cross Grand Canyon, or sell mutual funds. I know you're going to say selling mutual funds is tough. So with that background, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to just visually take you through some of these examples of what toughness really means. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Forget tough times. Let's remember great times. Great times were 2007, right? Full tezi, no tension. The worst performing equity fund was some 45%, right? The worst performing equity fund. That's great times. And 2013, bad times. In 2007, if business was good and 2013 business is bad, that's from a businessman's point of view. Just step aside from your world and look at life from a sportsman's point of view. How did it matter whether there was mandi or a bad time? It didn't matter. Good times, bad times for a sportsman had no meaning. In 2007, when times were good, did you expect the Indian team to just walk on the field and because the index is at 20,000, they will win every match? No. They had to play day in and day out and struggle even when the times were good. I think with that background, I want to show you a few visuals so this is the guy who's jumping off 40 kilometers above space. Now you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it at the back, but the aircrafts fly at half that altitude. Spy planes fly at about 30 kilometers, and this guy jumps off 40 kilometers above space. And I want to show you just a visual again. This is a very dramatic photograph. This is an aircraft. This is a fighter aircraft. It's an F-16. An F-16 flying full speed at 1500 kilometers will break the sound barrier. 1500 kilometers, it's breaking the sound barrier. And on the right-hand side is a human being breaking the sound barrier, which basically means after jumping off 40 kilometers, he's broken the sound barrier. That's how fast he was going. Now, these pictures are not meant to, kind of leave any other message, but the message I want to leave is to reach that stage for a 12-minute dive. This guy prepared for 5 years. 5 years of intense practice for 12 minutes. And today I was just sharing this with my wife, and she asked me, did he not, was there a chance that he could have lost his life? There was a 50% chance that he could have lost his life. But it was the 5 years of preparation that got him here. This is the photograph of this guy crossing the Grand Canyon. There is a brilliant story behind this. Sometime go on the YouTube. His name is Nick Walden. Go on YouTube, hear him out. This just happened literally 4 days ago. So while he's crossing this, now it all looks very easy. But just imagine crossing the Grand Canyon. You have to obviously prepare from all angles. So what was his preparation? So this guy looked at weather charts. He had wind speed. He had these charts for the next 2 weeks. And in his preparation, while he was preparing, he factored in everything. The one thing he didn't factor in, when the wind blows, with the wind will come sand. और वहाँ पे बेचारे की थोड़ी हालत खराब होगी, but he crossed it because he stood in the middle of this while he was crossing. He stood in the middle because the sand had come. He just stood, licked his finger, and just cleaned the rope every 1 inch or every 2 yards. So even after tremendous preparation, the guy had to rethink of what to do. Left-hand side, Sanavar kids. Right-hand side, Japanese 85-year-old guy on Mount Everest. And I want to show you one more photograph. And I think the most inspirational is perhaps this lady. She's Saudi Arabian. And the Saudi Arabian lady, who is perhaps almost burqa clad always, had to practice, and then she touched Mount Everest. So I think in a nutshell, I just wanted to, kind of put this whole word tough in perspective. Tough perhaps is a state of mind of which we think we become victims of. And I'll probably just, take a few more examples of this. Everyone knows who this is. This is Usain Bolt, fastest man on earth, 9.5 seconds. He breached 9.5 seconds. He's just phenomenal. But he can't beat this guy. So a lot of people in the room perhaps don't know who this guy is. He's currently the world #1 41-kilometer marathon champion, a guy called Macau. He's from Kenya. Usain Bolt, fastest man on earth. He can probably beat a cheetah while he's running. Will not be able to beat this guy in a 40-kilometer race because they are both built for completely different things. So if you just go back, Jigar, to the previous slide, just look at this guy. Rippling muscles, sab jagah se totally prepared. And look at the next guy. No muscle. The first guy cannot be the second guy, and they're both world champions. And the last of this series of photographs is something that is my favorite. This is a sport I love to play. It's badminton. There's a gentleman called Lin Dan. He's world #1 right now. Lin Dan is world #1, and he, on the first photograph and in the second, he's all set to hit a smash. The smash, you can't read it up there. When he hits the smash will travel at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. That's how fast it will go. But the guy on the other side will pick it up because of something known as intense preparation. Intense preparation. The purpose of all of this was, again, to perhaps just bring a bit of bit of what toughness is all about. To my mind, selling mutual funds is perhaps not that tough. It is challenging, but perhaps not that tough. So what have I learned from sports? So if I just kind of, just sit back, I've been selling mutual funds now for a pretty long time in my life. I think 15, 16 years. I've also been playing for a pretty long time. And what I just thought, this is the first time I've done it. I've never put slides on my experiences between sports and business. This is what I learned from sports. What I've learned is that sports are the ultimate test of human endurance. Ultimate test. There's no bigger test. It is tough, competitive, challenging, and it's very demanding. It's physically demanding, it's emotionally demanding, and it's, tests you out the most. But business is like sports. And that's the lesson I've learned. Business is like sports. It is tough, it's challenging, it brings the best out of you. And that's where the similarities start. So, two things is what I'll recommend. Play a sport and build your business like an ultra competitive sports person. Once you build your business like an ultra competitive sports person, what you are really saying is that you will bring in the traits, which is all those things, competitive, challenging, and you're willing to test yourself out. And the last thing is, what I learned is perhaps tough is a state of mind. And why do we find it tough? Is because we have to work harder. So the only reason, the differential is 2007 में मेहनत कम थी, 2013 में मेहनत ज़्यादा है, and that is tough. So boss, थोड़ा hard work करने में things don't get tough. That should be, that can be managed. Over the next few slides, I just want to, what Nikhil and the team had said is if there are a few examples within Axis, though we are a very new organization, we are about 4 years, but there are a few things that we think we've got right, building in these tough times. And I just thought, it's perhaps the right time for us to share some of those things that we got right. But our mantra in business is actually relax. And we say relax, it's Axis. So even in tough times, relax, it's Axis. Jigar. These are two slides I have borrowed from Cafe Mutual's research. So if Prem is around, I just want to let him know I have taken a couple of slides. It's very interesting stuff. This is a survey that these guys did on investors. Not necessarily investors, but people in cities. And this is all products and the relevance in terms of education, marriage, emergency. Numbers for mutual funds are very sorry and bleak. In the life of an investor, we are not, so these numbers, what you see is number of people who voted that mutual funds are relevant for child education, marriage, emergency. In mutual funds, you can see we are either 1 and 0. See the life insurance, gold, bank deposit. Every one of those has some relevance in the lives of an investor. Mutual funds 100112. It sounds like a binary, 1001. So the point it's not something that you don't know. It's something that we all know. But when you see it in numbers, it has a different meaning. The relevance of mutual funds in the life of an investor is almost 0. But what is even more compelling is the next slide. The next slide is that investors think that the highest risk product is mutual funds. So anyway, we are irrelevant, but we are the riskiest. What a lovely combination. Now that is tough. To break that is tough. And that is like, sorry? Arey boss, we are the ultimate risk story. Huh? We are ultimate risk. So, acha, and the beauty, Ashish, is that life insurance ka digit dekh, it's 4. Right? And low risk, look at low risk. Life insurance is the lowest risk, most relevant. So what I'm just trying to say is, obviously we've got this wrong somewhere as an industry. And the reason for that is the gap between what the investor wants, what we give, is diametrically opposite. कस्टमर को चाहिए सेफ्टी, लिक्विडिटी, रिटर्न. हम बोलते हैं पहले हम आपको रिटर्न ही देंगे, then liquidity, and then perhaps safety. So the mismatch in what he wants and what we give is completely, it's actually 360 degrees apart. And that perhaps is our biggest failure as an industry. And we've tried to address it a little bit. We think that if we don't listen to what the customer is saying, if the customer is talking safety, there has to be an element of safety, because that's what he wants. Yesterday in CII, I think Mr. Sinha was saying that 50 साल हो गए, equity is only 1,80,000 crores. तुमने क्या किया? And bank deposit is 50 lakh crore. बस हमने कुछ नहीं किया because the guy wants safety, and we're not listening to him. Just take a move to the next slide. And this is something which is our slide number 1 4 years ago. This is a slide which we made 4 years ago. It's a slide which we present every time. It's a lesson we learned when the four, 5 of us right at the start of the inception of this company came together. Girlfriends are the mutual funds are the girlfriend I will not marry. Ulta ho gaya.